Hey Sainers, welcome back to the Saints TV YouTube channel. Welcome to the Round 7 preview video. Thanks to Ticket Blaster. Make sure you go to ticketblaster.com.au. They're an official reseller of Medallion Club at the MCG and the Shane Warne stand, as well as Level 2 Medallion Club seats. Beautiful prime position for football. So if you want to treat yourself but not really go and get the crazy, expensive tickets, make sure to go to Ticket Blaster's website and get them there. They've got some great tickets at great prices. Okay, so it's round 7 already. We've only played on the Sunday, but we're playing on the Friday night. It's prime time, under the lights, football against Port Adelaide in Melbourne. Shock horror. So we've got them at Marvel Stadium. They're coming off the back of, I think, 3 straight wins, so they're feeling pretty good about themselves. And obviously we bounced back pretty well against the Blues on Sunday. We go to 5-1. We're top. They're 4-2, hovering around the 8. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting game because they've lost a couple of players. It's interesting. We're getting players back now. We got Membry and Steele back last week, which is great. And they've been hit with a fair few big injuries and also a suspension. So Jonas is not going to be playing. Todd Marshall's not going to be playing. Kane Farrell, I believe, is not going to be playing. Charlie Dixon should play, but he's not 100%. So yeah, they're a bit underdone. They're a bit sore, the Power, but our boys, I think, are going to be coming into this again with some pretty good confidence. The Power have done what they needed to do. They've had a few surprise wins and then some pretty disappointing losses. Obviously, their best win is probably round 1 against Brisbane, and when they flogged them, they obviously beat Sydney in that game where Sydney could have won it after the siren. And then obviously their biggest loss was Collingwood at the MCG. And then Adelaide, they lost by about 6 goals in the showdown. So you can kind of look at that and go, well, they're pretty inconsistent, which is probably fair to say. Their best is very good. Their worst is very bad. The 2 teams that have really got hold of them are 2 teams that play very similar style to us in that, they rebound very, very quickly off half-back. They play a very high handball, high disposal game and own the football in their inside 50s. So Adelaide did that. Collingwood definitely did that. And if we can hopefully implement that again, with the fact that they probably lost a couple of big tools there, that would be very, very handy in this game. Obviously, Georgiades, sorry, I didn't mention him at the start, but he's out with an ACL for the rest of the year. So that's really disappointing for them and for him. So we wish him all the best, but he will be missing as well. So they're going to be hit pretty badly in the big man department. And this is the first time this year where we've probably gone into a game against a team that's as undermanned as what we've been. We're getting better. We're still missing a few big names, but we've got a fairly strong team on the park now. Like, that was our strongest 22 last week in my eyes for the season. And it performed that way, which was really good. So for me, in terms of our changes, I don't think we should be making any. I genuinely think that we should go in unchanged. Depends on the sub. Windy was the sub, and I think that worked really well. I think Steele was a bit underdone, but he'll be better for it in the long run. So he'll stay where he is. He's not going to be rested, nothing like that. Membry stays in, obviously. He's back and performed really well. And Gresham stood up, and he was a big question mark on Gresh last week, but he stood up. So I think that for me, if I was Ross Lyon and co, I'd keep the exact same team. Jack Billings did very well at VFL level, as did Jack Bytel. So they might rotate the sub. But I think in terms of the starting 18 on field, I really don't see any point in changing that. I think we're going well, stick to it. So Port's biggest strengths. They're very good in terms of pressure game. They're number 4 for tackles per game, so that's great. They're also second in clearances. So that's something that was a big sort of focus in the Carlton game last week, was they smashed us in contested ball, pressure, tackles, and obviously clearances in that first half. We were only 2 points down at halftime, but stats-wise it looked a lot worse. We evened that out after halftime. We really lifted in that area. Our clearances, our contested ball work, and our pressure and tackle numbers increased significantly in the second half, and that kind of opened up the game. It allowed us to get more space and to open up the game and kick some pretty quick-fire goals in that third, which was in the end the difference. But Port Adelaide, they've always been good at that pressure game. They've got a lot of senior players, a lot of big-bodied mids. And if I just look at some of the top-ranked players that they've got, no doubt a lot of them are going to be some of the players that we know pretty well, like Connor Rosie. He started the year absolutely on fire. Started as that small forward for them when he first started the AFL level, and he's grown into a very, very capable midfielder that can kick goals. Charlie Dixon, he's played 5 games so far. He's going very nicely. Zach Butters as well. Dan Houston. Alir is the key for me. Obviously, we don't have the tallest forward line. Obviously, Membry being back is great. But I just have nightmares of last time we played them and continually just bombing it to Alir and him just eating it up. I don't know how many intercept marks he had last time we played them, but he had a day out and he was close to man of the match. His numbers would have been huge because we were just kicking it down his throat all day. And that was with Max King in the team. So we don't have Max anymore. Well, not this week at least, but I think we've changed our style so much that it doesn't really matter what tools the opposition has in defense. We rarely kick it to that outnumber now. We really lower our eyes. We go for the more pack mark scenarios where it's very hard for Alir. There are players like him to take that easy intercept mark, and we kind of just put it on the head of about 5 players. And if he's going to mark it, it's going to take a fairly impressive mark, but 9 times out of 10 it'll be spoiled in a contest. It'll come to ground, and that's where Butler, Higgins, Gresh, these guys can get to work, hold it in, or try and crumb it and keep that motion moving. And we saw that against Carlton a lot last week, where Seb Ross had the footy and he could tell that there was a bit of isolation. So we talked about it in the podcast, but he just kind of went like that. He said, let's get into a pack formation. He'd bomb it high. 5 players would go up for it, and it would inevitably come down. You'd have Gresh, Butler, Higgins, these guys at the ground, ready to go. Even Mitch Owens, he just pounces up like a cat off the contest, and then we go from there. So I think we'll see a lot of that again. I think that Port might be a bit surprised by how different we will be playing compared to last time. It's a bit of a coincidence that last time we played Port, we were 5-1. They were coming off flogging West Coast to get their season back on track. And it's exactly the same scenario now. We're 5-1 and they just beat West Coast. So it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out, but that's just a fun little fact for you. I think obviously Jason Horne-Francis has been talked about very heavily in the media, but for the most part he's actually been quite good this year. So I don't really read too much into it. Kane Farrell has been good, but he's going to be missing the game. And then obviously they got Ollie Wines, superstar, Travis Boak, very good player, Scott Lysett, Todd Marshall's missing, and then Dersma and Sam Powell-Pepper's always in for a fight. So for me, they're not the most skilled team going around, but they're just very seasoned. They're probably a bit more experienced than us. You look across the board, they've got a lot of big-bodied mids. They've got a lot of big, strong players. But that's where I think we can still get them. I think Carlton's profile is very similar to Port's in that they've got a lot of big players, a lot of lumbering players, but if we can get the game on the outside again, I think that's where we can break them down. And we've handled a lot of better forward lines than theirs. Obviously, Charlie Dixon is a very, very good forward in his own right, but the fact that he's not going to be, partnered with Todd Marshall or Georgiades is going to be a huge added bit of weight on his shoulders to really perform in this game, particularly when you got Cal Wilkie, Dukes, and Josh Battle down there doing such a good job. And we're only conceding, I think, on average 60 points per game, which is absurd. So it's going to be a very difficult day for Charlie Dixon. But, at the same time, our forwards down the other end are going to have to be on form because, they've got some pretty solid players down there. Alir, as I mentioned, Dan Houston's another one. So across the board, there's going to be a lot of key matchups. Obviously, Ollie Wines in the middle. What do we do there? Connor Rosie, what do we do there? Do we go windy and go the tag? That would be interesting. There's going to be a lot of little things like that will decide the game and whether we even go for it. We might just back ourselves because, even reading up on Big Footy and all the Port Adelaide supporters going into this game, surprisingly, very, very pessimistic. I know that we're going well, and I know that they're missing a couple of players, but yeah, I'm just surprised that a lot of them were just saying, if we get within 6 goals, we'll be lucky. I'll take that as a win. And I'm like, really? Like, are we at that point now? I don't think we are just yet. I think that they're still a very capable team. And looking at the names that we'll be playing, Willie Rioli is a very dangerous small forward. I think that I would not be looking past, Friday night. In my eyes, as a Saints fan, I still respect Port, and I think they're they're known to be just an annoying bogey team for us. And we've overcome a few teams that we've lost to from last year. Pretty much all of them except Collingwood, I'd say. But obviously, I think Port's the key one. You know, they always seem to get us, but they don't have Robbie Gray. And I joked about it on the podcast, but he's always been the one to give me nightmares in these games, you know. So the fact that he's not around, I think, is already a big, big improvement for us. We're on our home deck as well. And I think that hopefully because of that, we can just get the game on our terms. We've pretty much played most games on our terms this year, which has been really nice to see. We haven't had teams dictate the game too often. Even Collingwood, you saw the way Collingwood finished the game against the Bombers yesterday. They weren't able to do that against us. They started the quarter like that, and it could have gone that way, but we shifted it back in our favour. And Essendon couldn't do that yesterday. They conceded 7-0 or something in the last quarter and lost the game from being 28 points up. We were 24 points down, lost the game by 6 against Collingwood. So you can see that mental sort of shift that we were able to make in that fourth term. And I think if we can just control the air in this game, obviously Roe Marshall's going to have a big game. They're probably going to have Lycett, Dixon, maybe someone else chopping out in the ruck. He's going to probably go up against 3 or 4 different players over the night. I think if we can break even in the midfield, then I think Mason Wood, Burns, Brad Hill, these sort of guys, get a bit of space on the wings, run. Jack Sinclair as well. I think that should be enough to get the 4 points. I don't think it's going to be as one-sided as what some people have told me. I think it's going to be quite competitive. Obviously, Port Adelaide want to make a statement. We want to keep our good form going. And it's Friday night football, the first time this year for us. So it's another big challenge for us because we've had a few big, primetime games in the past. And we've shit the bed, to put it kindly. So this is a big opportunity for us to go 6-1, and then we have North at Marvel on the Sunday. So then we get a good 9-day break. Who knows if maybe a Kingy or someone like that will be available by that game, but it's a big opportunity to really set up the first part of our season. And it's a good test. I'm really looking forward to it. I think Port Adelaide are quite capable. I think they're dangerous on their day. Obviously, a team that has flogged Brisbane and beaten Sydney in Sydney is not a team to be taken lightly. And they've got a lot of rising stars, a lot of good youngsters, but also some seasoned players that are willing to put their bodies on the line. So it's a good challenge for our youngsters and then a good challenge for our senior players as well to continue to stand up in the face of adversity. So bring it on, I say. I'm feeling good. Again, feeling comfortable, feeling like there's full trust in the system. That's the key word this week, hasn't it? You know, it's been system. Everyone's talking about the St Kilda system. And let's see if Port Adelaide can break it down because so far most teams haven't. So fingers crossed we get the win, Sainers. I'm feeling good about it. Again, thank you to Ticket Blaster for sponsoring the video. Please please comment your thoughts. How are you feeling about this game? Obviously, we had a great win on Sunday. This is another big test. A game that we're expected to win based on what I'm reading everywhere else. And obviously the odds, we're favourites. That's a surprise compared to the first 5 weeks where we were, I think, underdogs for 4 of the 5 games. It's going to be a big test. Friday night football. Can't wait for it. But as I mentioned, please please comment your thoughts, and most importantly, subscribe. Let's get to 7,000 subs by the end of June. That'd be nice. In the next month and a half would be great. And if you haven't already, please go and watch the video from last night. Saints TV Live, Max and Jordan spoke exclusively to Grant Thomas. Very, very good interview. I highly recommend it. So after this video, make sure you go and watch that. But until next time, Sainers, enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. And as always, go you mighty Sainers. See you guys.